but nothing had resulted in them being able to conceive. Hence, they now find themselves in the clinic. Again. Once Kate's lying on her back with her legs in the air, she sings Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody in her head to distract herself from the fact that there is a doctor, an embryologist, a nurse, and a medical student all staring intently at her lady parts. Galileo, Galileo, she hums in an attempt to take herself to another place. Once you've had a baby, a smear test will be like just going to the hairdresser's, her sister Lauren had offered when they'd inadvertently run into each other at the doctor's. Kate hadn't wanted to share her infertility struggles, so had been caught on the hop. Of all the things she could have said she was there for, a smear was the first thing that popped into her head. She could have kicked herself. You would have thought that an older sister with 3 children would be the perfect antidote to the situation that Kate finds herself in. Someone who would sympathise, offer unbiased advice, and a shoulder to cry on. But Lauren is not that person. Or perhaps, more to the point, Kate doesn't see that person in her. Instead, she sees a woman who is living the life she had assumed she'd be living. And sisters or not, Lauren's perfect little setup is not the kind of support network Kate feels she needs to be immersed in right now. And anyway, she thinks, how can she possibly understand what I'm going through when she only has to look at her husband to get pregnant? She jumps as she feels a sharp pain in her groin. Okay, so we're inserting the embryo now, says Dr. Williams, though Kate doesn't know if he's talking to her or the eager student, who can't seem to get close enough to see what's happening. As it turns out, it doesn't matter how many times you've been poked and prodded, it will never feel like going to the hairdresser's. She wants to push the invasive hands and instruments away, restore her dignity, and tell them she's had enough of being treated like a laboratory rat. But then she looks at Matt, with his gentle smile and hopeful eyes. She could so easily take herself down the "why is life so unfair" route, but in the rare moments of clarity, when she knows that having a good life isn't dependent on having a child, she is so grateful to have him. She'd always wanted a baby with the husband she loves, more than anything in the world. Had been consumed by it at one point. But the pain and constant disappointment were taking their toll. If she'd had her way, they would have stopped at the 3rd IVF attempt. She was exhausted, both physically and mentally. Her nervous energy depleted by the tales she'd had to spin to friends and work colleagues who raised a knowing eyebrow whenever she refused an alcoholic drink. This is it, she'd said to Matt a couple of nights ago as they were snuggled on the couch watching TV. She felt him stiffen and sit up straighter. What? This is our last chance? He asked, seemingly floored. Hadn't he noticed how tired she was? Seen her desolation every time they looked at a blank pregnancy test? Couldn't he see how their whole lives had been taken over by the process of getting pregnant? I've had enough, she'd said quietly. But he stuttered. Darling, we're so close now. I know it. We can do this. Something inside her had snapped. You keep saying we, as if we're going through this together. He'd looked at her, hurt. Aren't we? She chastised herself for taking her frustrations out on the person she loves the most. But isn't that always the way? She thinks back to how carefree they'd once been, how they'd met on the newsroom floor of the Gazette and bonded over mutual banter about a loathsome editor. It had made the day go quicker, made the shifts under the editor's watch seem a little easier to bear. Whenever he'd march into the open plan office, shouting his morning mantra, "Who are we going to throw to the lions today?" Kate and Matt would race to send each other an email with "You?" in the subject heading. It was a regrettable day when the editor himself received Matt's email. "I'll miss working with you," said Matt, as he and Kate sat in the pub, rueing their stupidity. "But every cloud has a silver lining." She thought he was referring